car, back under the car with a cardboard template that we've laid out. It should cover the hole in the wheel well here. Patch is bigger than need be. Tried to mark out where we need to stretch it, where we need to shrink it. Also put lines on the original body about where the patch would be. Some lines here too where we're probably going to end up cutting the patch down and rely more on original metal. The idea is to make the patch a little bit bigger than needed. That helps with the handling and the stretching. It's always easier to cut something off than to weld it back on. Let's see what we can do from here. That's a lot easier than a grinding wheel or a sanding disc because it really doesn't take any metal thickness away, and it leaves a pretty clean surface. As you can see, the fiber wheel did a pretty good job of cleaning things up. Of course, we remarked the pattern on there since we wiped it off. Here's an example of what one of the wheels looks like to buy new. And they also don't put too much heat into the panel, so that's a benefit as well. This is 20 gauge. We've chosen 20 gauge because it matches more closely the wheel well thickness, and it also bends a good bit easier than 18 gauge. So I knocked this out quickly with a 1/32 thickness cutoff wheel. Goes a little faster than a thicker wheel, and it doesn't put so much heat into the thin metal. Tin snips would also work on something this thick. Anyway, there's our patch, off to the bending and shaping. Gonna use a bastard file for taking the rough edges off of this. You could use a grinder, but that increases the probability of shooting the patch across the room. Also have transcribed the bending and shaping cues from the from the pattern onto the patch. So after some hitting on the sandbag to put some reverse curve in there, and then some bending and shrinking and stretching, this is how it's starting to fit. So we formed a patch that looks pretty good. It's right here. So obviously the top end needs to be trimmed back and fitted a little bit better. It roughly approximates the curve here. And if you see with our template, you can see that the patch is a little larger than what we need for the wheel arch there. So we're gonna be trimming that back and fitting the quarter panel before we do the final forming and weld that in. Also, what was done in here, this is a big advantage of using the 20 gauge steel instead of something heavier. This was form fit somewhat with a ball peen hammer, using the remnants of the fender well as a bit of an anvil or a dolly. So the final fitting actually took place up in the fender here. The video of making the patch was kind of foobarred. What we did is we realized we needed to stretch the outer edge, shrink the inner edge, and shrink down here. So we started out using a vise mounted shrinker stretcher right here. These are available from Eastwood, had them for some time. They're handy. You don't need them all that often, but when you need them, boy, there's nothing like it. Also used the sandbag here and the mallet to put this reverse curve in here, compound reverse curve, and also then the opposite way in here, this simple sandbag, leather bag, and mallet, and then used the curved T-dolly to get some of the shape, and also to planish out some of the hammer marks from both the sandbag and the ball peen that was used under the fender well.